was about 30 pounds overweight, give or take 5 pounds, for years because of the terrible nutrition advice I received from doctors and dietitians and the internet. So I'm going to try to eradicate those misconceptions and give you guys some pointers. They're very personal, so I hope they're helpful. I'm Carly. I'm a plant-based nutritionist. I make videos on just general nutrition information, weight loss, raising vegan babies, and vegan pregnancy and things of that sort. So if you're interested in those topics, make sure you subscribe. I try to come out with videos every Monday and Thursday at the moment. So I'm going to be going through 7 or 8 different tips that I feel were like the pinnacle of how I finally got to a place in my life where I'm not obsessing over every calorie I put in my mouth. It's incredibly freeing to be on this diet because you just eat whole foods and you passively maintain a lean, healthy body. It could not be more simple. Unfortunately, it took a lot of trial and error, mostly error, to get here. The first one I'm going to start with is remove the junk, and that includes animal foods from your diet. These are so toxic and they provide very little nutritional value, contrary to what the advertisers and the big food industries want you to believe. Calcium does not need to be obtained from dairy products. Iron absolutely does not need to be obtained from meat. There is actually a much healthier version that you obtain from plant foods, but I have another video on that, so I won't get into iron at the moment. I just want to try to help you reframe your mindset when it comes to these foods, because everything I thought I knew about nutrition was completely upside down when I stumbled across the proper diet that was right for my biology. And by all means, these tips, like I said, are very personal to me. It's what worked for my body and my physiology. So if you want to try any of these, obviously make sure you talk to your doctor first, but just know that if they don't work, it's not because you did something wrong. It's just because all of our DNA is completely different. And there's actually a great book on that, Neil Barnard's something about fat genes. I'll link it below. But it really helped me to understand that each individual has a different propensity for certain foods, and your genes control your appetite along with your microbiota. But I don't want to get too far off topic. So yeah, remove the junk and the animal foods. They are incredibly high in harmful components that will ultimately lead to weight gain, such as cholesterol, saturated fat, trans fats, and salt, sugar, and oil. Moving on to the second tip is replenishing what you remove from your diet with healthful foods. So these are going to be whole plant-based foods. These are things like potatoes and broccoli and apples, and all legumes are so good for you. That's typically what you're going to replace your protein items with, is legumes. Just keep your mind wrapped around eating the food in its most natural state, and you will inevitably lose weight. And this is, I exercise all the time, but I definitely attribute this to my diet because I've always been crazy about my exercise since I was like 19. I've had a gym membership, so and I was always in sports, and I've always been a runner. So it's not so much a exercise problem as it is a dietary problem. The more you process a food from its most natural state, the more bioavailable you're making it, which is just another way of saying the more efficient your body can break it down and absorb it when the more processed it is. So you want to stay away from those processed items as much as possible. I know they're convenient, but make this a priority. Make time in your life to be able to chop up your veggies and prepare your salad and prepare your soup and make sure all your lunches are ready to go for the week. This needs to be at your forefront or it's never gonna work. And after you practice doing it for a while, it becomes second nature. You're on autopilot, you just get it done. You just gotta find a place for it to work in your schedule. Let's move on to cutting out all the oil, salt, and sugar. These are the most harmful components that you're going to have in your diet next to the animal products. So when you alter a food so much from its original form to such a highly concentrated version of that food, such as olive oil as opposed to olives, you are not only removing everything that's of value to human health, like the fiber and the phytonutrients and the antioxidants and a lot of the minerals and vitamins, but you are concentrating it into a macronutrient that is needed in such minute amounts. So your body doesn't know how to respond to it properly. It messes with its satiety mechanisms and it messes with your appetite, and you end up eating way too much. And had you not had that oil, you would be eating a much smaller amount. They've done a lot of interesting studies on that. Same thing for the salt and the sugar. You are inevitably going to take in more calories if you put these concentrated constituents into your food. Or, I mean, if you think about it, where do you find oil, salt, and sugar? In processed convenient junk that is full of saturated and trans fats and all sorts of harmful components. So I was on a plateau for ages when it came to my weight loss. I could not drop those last like 10, 15 pounds. Removing these from my diet almost overnight, it seemed. It completely fixed the problem. And I've never looked back, and it's been so easy ever since. Or I don't want to say easy because it is very difficult to remove these from your diet if you live in a Western society, but it's doable. Focus on whole plant foods and you won't have a problem. Buy foods without a nutrition label and you'll be good to go. So the next one I want to talk about is your feeding window. So if you eat calories in the beginning of the day as opposed to the end of the day, your body absorbs and you stores less of the nutrients than had you eaten the same exact meal later in the day. So you can use this to your advantage. Make sure you eat your breakfast and your lunch as, you know, your major meals, and then just have some kind of snack if you're hungry for dinner. And make sure you eat that at least prior to 7 p.m. I know this is difficult for people who work the night shift, but even if you're up during the nighttime, and even if you're exercising in the nighttime, you're still not burning calories as efficiently had you would in the beginning of the day. It is just something with our circadian rhythms and the way that we've evolved over thousands and thousands of years. 12 to 16 hours, it's kind of the gold standard for this fasting duration that you want to stick to each day. So try to eat your breakfast late and eat your dinner early. I tend to eat such a big breakfast and lunch that I don't really bother with dinner, and I have celiac disease and my intestine got really screwed up in those years that I was still consuming gluten, you know, unknowing that I wasn't supposed to be consuming it. So my intestine became so damaged that if I eat too late, I can't sleep because there's so much indigestion. So you just try it out, and it actually becomes easier over time. Just take it day by day, and eventually you'll train your body to not be hungry during those times of the day. The fifth one I want to talk about is planning and prepping. I kind of mentioned this earlier, but I cannot emphasize it enough. It's so important that you have a plan for each week, not just each day, because that becomes very overwhelming. I eat a lot of leftovers and a lot of the same foods day after day after day, but you can modify them and you can vary them significantly with different toppings and sauces and dressings and seasonings. So batch cook. Just get very comfortable with batch cooking. I make a ton of grains a ton of legumes, a huge salad, and a huge soup every week. And I vary them significantly, but it's still that grain, legume, soup, salad. Again, make healthy eating your priority. Yes, this is going to take a lot of time. Yes, this is going to take a lot of effort. How important is your health? How important is it to you to wake up in a healthy, lean body every day without feeling uncomfortable in your own skin? It is invaluable. Just put in the work and it'll become second nature. Like I said, you'll be on autopilot. You won't even think about it. Yes, it's a pain in the butt sometimes, but invest in proper kitchenware, good utensils, sharp knives, a good knife sharpener, a good cutting board. Invest in a pressure cooker and a decent blender and a slow cooker. All these things that make your life so much easier eating a healthful diet. And like I said, over time, it becomes second nature. So just give it a try. The sixth tip I want to talk about is eating a big salad for lunch every day, or just every day in general. So many plant-based doctors will recommend this. It's so important, and it really is the only way to get all of your micronutrients in. So if you are packing in 6 to 8 to 9 cups of greens and all these colorful fruits and veggies into your salad every day, and making sure you get some sort of nut or seed-based homemade dressing on top, you will never be nutrient deficient, and you will be sure to fill up on those raw veggies. And raw green veggies are going to be your best friend when it comes to weight loss. Eat as many of those as possible. Let's move on to number 7. And number 7 and number 8 are pretty similar. It's eat raw foods and eat simply. So the more raw foods you put in your diet, the more work your body has to do to break those down and absorb them. This goes along with the, eating less processed foods, but I cannot emphasize this enough. It's a complete game changer. Yes, you spend a lot of time chewing, but that's the point. You're not going to overeat if you have to chew and chew and chew, and your stomach is going to be so stuffed with all these big fibrous water containing foods that you're not going to need to eat all day long. Eat simply is probably the best tip I can give, because so many people overthink this and think they have to get a new recipe for every breakfast, lunch, and dinner of every day, and it's just not the case. I eat pretty much the same foods day in and day out, just in different variations. And same thing with my 1-year-old daughter. She thrives on this diet, and yes, she might get sick of things now and then, but she's a baby, that happens. But overall, it's made my life so much easier and cleaner, and you just feel so much healthier. So I hope this video was helpful. Sorry if it was a little exhaustive. I have many more of these tips on my blog if you want to check out modernnutritiondesigns.com. There's a lot of plant-based grocery lists and meal plans and different videos and cooking demos that can assist you in this plant-based journey that you're on. So make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you next time.